Imagine this for a moment. It's a normal day, everything feels fine, and then without warning, someone you know collapses from a heart attack or suffers a stroke. It often happens quietly, without dramatic symptoms beforehand, and that's what makes it so frightening. Heart disease and stroke are not distant problems reserved for old age. They affect busy parents, working professionals, and even people who believe they are generally healthy. Many of these life-changing events are tied to everyday lifestyle choices, especially what we put on our plates. Most people think preventing a heart attack or stroke requires complicated diets, expensive supplements, or extreme changes they can't maintain. But what if one simple, balanced meal could play a powerful role in supporting heart health? What if the food you eat regularly could help lower inflammation, improve cholesterol levels, stabilize blood pressure, and support healthy blood flow? All of the factors closely linked to cardiovascular disease. This idea isn't about magic food or overnight results. It's about understanding how nutrition, wellness, and daily habits quietly shape your long-term health. Heart attack and stroke symptoms often develop after years of silent damage. High blood pressure, unhealthy cholesterol, blood sugar imbalances, and chronic inflammation can exist without obvious warning signs. Many people only realize something is wrong when it's too late. That's why prevention matters so much. The meals we choose don't just affect our weight or energy levels. They influence how our heart and blood vessels function every single day. In real life, this isn't about perfection. It's about real people trying to eat better while managing stress, family responsibilities, and busy schedules. It's about finding a meal that feels satisfying, realistic, and supportive of a healthier lifestyle. A meal that nourishes the body instead of slowly harming it. When you understand how certain foods work together to protect the heart, those choices become less confusing and more empowering. So what exactly makes a meal heart protective? Is it the type of fats, the fiber content, the way it affects blood sugar, or how it reduces inflammation over time? And how can one meal fit naturally into different cultures, routines, and taste preferences without feeling restrictive? That's the question we're about to explore, and the answer might be simpler and more practical than you expect. Heart attacks and strokes rarely happen out of nowhere. In most cases, they are the result of years of strain on the heart and blood vessels. Poor diet, chronic stress, lack of movement, smoking, and long hours of sitting slowly damage the cardiovascular system. Over time, arteries can become stiff or narrowed, blood pressure can rise, and unhealthy cholesterol can build up without causing pain. This is why so many people feel shocked when a serious event happens. They never felt sick enough to worry. Early signs are often subtle and easy to ignore. Frequent fatigue, shortness of breath, headaches, dizziness, or a feeling of heaviness in the chest can be brushed off as stress or aging. Even digestive issues, poor sleep, or low energy can be linked to underlying heart health problems. These symptoms don't always mean something serious, but they are signals that the body may be struggling to maintain balance. Daily habits play a powerful role here. Skipping meals, relying on processed foods, excess salt and sugar, and emotional eating during stressful moments can quietly increase heart disease risk. At the same time, many people genuinely want to eat healthier but feel overwhelmed by conflicting nutrition advice. Real life doesn't always allow for perfect choices, and that frustration often leads to giving up altogether. What's often missing from the conversation is how small, consistent changes, especially around meals, can support heart wellness in a realistic way. Not a strict diet, but a smarter approach to everyday food. The question remains, how do you choose a meal that truly supports your heart without turning your entire life upside down? For many people, the fear doesn't come from statistics, it comes from personal stories. A parent who seemed strong suddenly needs lifelong medication after a minor stroke. A friend who ignored high blood pressure now struggles with daily fatigue and anxiety after a heart scare. These experiences leave emotional marks, not just physical ones. They change how people see food, stress, and even their own bodies. The heart becomes something fragile, something that can no longer be taken for granted. From a medical perspective, doctors often see the same pattern repeated. Patients arrive after years of unmanaged risk factors, wishing they had acted sooner. High cholesterol, insulin resistance, inflammation, and elevated blood pressure don't usually cause pain early on, which makes them dangerous. Many people believe that medication alone will fix the problem. But healthcare professionals regularly emphasize that lifestyle and nutrition are essential parts of prevention and recovery. Still, knowing this doesn't always make change easy. There are also common misconceptions that add to the confusion. Some believe heart disease only affects older adults, or that being thin automatically means being healthy. Others think they need to completely cut out foods they love or follow extreme diets to protect their heart. This all-or-nothing thinking often leads to guilt, stress, and inconsistency, factors that can actually worsen heart health. Emotionally, trying to protect your heart can feel overwhelming. Food is tied to comfort, culture, and routine. Changing eating habits may bring fear of restriction or failure, especially after years of doing things a certain way. At the same time, the consequences of inaction feel heavy. The risk of stroke, long-term disability, or losing independence quietly hangs in the background. All of this leads to an important tension. People want to care for their heart, but they need guidance that feels realistic, supportive, and grounded in everyday life. So where does that leave someone who wants to start with something as simple and powerful as their next meal? There often comes a moment when concern turns into urgency. It might be a routine checkup that shows dangerously high blood pressure, a blood test revealing worsening cholesterol levels, or a sudden episode of chest discomfort that can't be ignored. For some, it's the shock of hearing words like pre-diabetic, blocked arteries, or high stroke risk. These moments force people to confront a reality they've been pushing aside, that heart health is no longer a future worry, but a present one. As risk factors pile up, the body sends clearer warning signs. Persistent shortness of breath, swelling in the legs, irregular heartbeat, frequent headaches, or unexplained anxiety can all signal cardiovascular strain. Fatigue becomes constant, not relieved by rest. Simple activities feel harder. Sleep quality drops. These symptoms are often normalized or blamed on stress, but together they point to a system under pressure. Ignoring them doesn't make them disappear, it allows the damage to progress quietly. The risks at this stage are serious. A heart attack or stroke can change life in seconds, leading to long-term disability, memory problems, loss of mobility, or dependence on daily medication and medical care. Recovery isn't always complete. Many survivors describe the emotional aftermath as just as difficult as the physical one. Fear of recurrence, loss of confidence, and constant worry about their health choices. What makes this stage so critical is that it still holds potential for prevention, yet time feels limited. Lifestyle habits, especially daily nutrition, now carry more weight than ever. Every meal becomes a decision that can either support healing or add more strain. The realization hits hard. Small choices repeated over time may determine whether the heart continues to cope or reaches a breaking point. And this is where everything feels urgent, confusing, and deeply personal. When the risk is real and the stakes are high, one question rises above all others. What should you eat next, and could that choice truly make a difference before it's too late? What makes this situation even more alarming is that many heart attacks and strokes happen in people who thought they were doing enough. They may eat what seems like a normal diet, avoid obvious junk food, or rely on occasional exercise, yet still face serious cardiovascular events. Delayed diagnosis is common because routine symptoms are vague and easy to overlook. Blood pressure that's only slightly high, cholesterol that's borderline, or blood sugar that's just a little off, can quietly move toward dangerous levels without setting off alarms. Hidden symptoms also play a role. Digestive discomfort, jaw pain, back pain, unusual sweating, or sudden exhaustion are often not recognized as warning signs of heart disease, especially in women. Many people wait, hoping the feeling will pass, losing valuable time. By the time medical care is sought, the damage may already be underway. This delay can increase the risk of complications like heart failure, reduced circulation, or long-term neurological effects after a mild stroke. Another common mistake is focusing on single, healthy foods while ignoring the overall meal pattern. People add one heart-friendly item but keep the rest of the plate loaded with excess salt, refined carbohydrates, or unhealthy fats. Others skip meals, leading to blood sugar spikes later in the day, which adds stress to the heart and blood vessels. Even well-intentioned choices can backfire when they're not balanced or sustainable. Stress and emotional eating quietly intensify the problem. Chronic stress raises cortisol levels, affects blood pressure, and influences cravings that undermine heart wellness. Over time, this creates a cycle that feels impossible to break. The most unsettling truth is that these small, everyday missteps often happen right before a major turning point, when prevention is still possible, but the margin for error is shrinking fast. This is usually the moment when everything finally becomes clear. After years of mixed advice, confusing labels, and silent warning signs, one realization stands out. Heart health isn't protected by one healthy food or an occasional good habit, but by how a full meal works together inside the body. Cardiologists and nutrition experts often emphasize that the heart responds to patterns, not perfection. Blood pressure, cholesterol levels, blood sugar control, and inflammation are all influenced by what happens at the table, meal after meal. What surprises many people is that the most powerful shift doesn't always start with cutting things out, but with building the right foundation. A well-balanced meal can support healthy blood flow, reduce strain on the arteries, and help stabilize energy and mood. When fiber-rich foods, quality proteins, and healthy fats are combined properly, they slow digestion, prevent blood sugar spikes, and reduce the inflammatory stress that damages the cardiovascular system over time. This is where nutrition quietly becomes a form of daily protection. The turning point often comes when people stop chasing extremes and start understanding balance. Skipping meals, following harsh diets, or relying on superfoods alone can increase stress on the body. In contrast, a thoughtfully structured meal supports the heart without triggering fear or restriction. Doctors regularly see better long-term results when patients focus on sustainable eating patterns rather than short-term fixes. The unexpected twist is this: the most effective heart-supportive meal isn't complicated, expensive, or culturally limited. It's not something reserved for special occasions or perfect days. It's something many people already eat parts of, but not in the right way or at the right time. Once this connection is understood, food stops feeling like the enemy and starts becoming a tool. And that brings us to the final question that changes everything. If one meal can influence your risk of heart attack and stroke more than you realized, what exactly should that meal look like? And are you closer to it than you think? The takeaway is simple but powerful. Protecting your heart starts with everyday choices, and one thoughtfully balanced meal can make a meaningful difference. By including fiber-rich vegetables, lean proteins, whole grains, and healthy fats, you provide your body with the nutrients it needs to support healthy blood pressure, stable cholesterol, and reduced inflammation. Small, consistent adjustments, like reducing excess salt and sugar, cooking at home more often, and pairing meals with movement, amplify the benefits and make long-term heart wellness achievable. Awareness is just as important as action. Paying attention to subtle signs like fatigue, shortness of breath, or mild chest discomfort can help catch risk factors early. Regular checkups, mindful eating, and managing stress through simple daily habits, like walking, stretching, or even deep breathing, create a lifestyle that supports your heart without feeling overwhelming. The most encouraging part is that these changes don't require perfection. Heart health is built over time, meal by meal, habit by habit. By understanding how nutrition, lifestyle, and daily awareness work together, you reclaim a sense of control over your well-being. Remember, protecting your heart isn't a one-time effort. It's a lifelong commitment that starts with choices you make today. Your next meal could be your first step toward a stronger, healthier heart.